Welcome to my presentation. I will show you a PB to C# case study based on an open approach used in the PB Open migration program. Let's take a look at the session agenda. After an introduction, I will show you the case study, the old and the new application, the PB Open method, the definition documents, the source code, and then the summary. My name is Gianluca De Bonis, or Gian, or Luca, Italian living in Spain. I am CEO CTO of Enable Development and product owner of the PB Open migration program. I'm an international consultant working with more than 150 customers all over the world. I've created hundreds of solutions and several products based on the Power Builder technology. Company profile. Enable Development, an Appeon consulting partner, helps companies to enhance the productivity and the quality of their development by providing consulting, training, mentoring, and software development services. With more than 150 customers all over the world, Enable Development organizes a network of consultants, mostly freelancers, and provides development services on projects it manages directly, instead of hiring out IT specialists, backed by a team of about 300 developers. So, who needs migration? The typical scenario is to have a successful Power Builder application with outdated UI and architecture, with a huge code base with complex business logic, thousands of data windows, and a development team with business-oriented skills. Actually, developers in this context are experts in the field. So, once you understand that you have to migrate because your customers are expecting more from you, what are the solutions? We have the full rewrite, UI restyling, cloud migration, like with Power Server, PB Open, and any other PB to C# approach based on the .NET DataStore. Now, full rewrite is extremely painful, it's costly and with a huge risk factor. UI restyling only addresses the UI, but can't give you the cross-platform access that you might need. Cloud migration addresses the architecture, but with the same UI limitations. And we will talk more extensively about PB Open. But why the .NET DataStore? This magic component allows your team to retain the business skills and to migrate the business logic in a simple way, while giving you full C# implementation and exceptional performance. The method. In PB Open, that is based on the .NET DataStore, there are three phases: assess, evaluate, migrate. The assess is defining a tiny subset of the application, kept small in order to minimize your risks. The evaluate is estimating and building the pilot project in order to give you a preview of the methodology. Then several migrate phases will migrate the system module by module, with several approaches based on specifications, based on budget, hybrid Scrum, and so on. The program separates completely the responsibilities. You are supposed to work on the business logic migration with our support. We work on the UI. We manage the project, coordinate development, mentor, train, support your team. In the case study, I will show you the PB Open sample application. We created the sample in order to allow you full inspection of the source code. That is, of course, not possible with a customer application. The PB application has the typical scenario. It is quick and effective, with outdated UI and client-server architecture. The new application has a React Redux UI with Material. It is quick and effective as the PB app, but it runs on a browser on every platform. It is responsive, so can be used with a wide range of devices. And of course, it is modern and beautiful. The backend is a multi-platform web API written with Snap Develop in C# with a .NET DataStore. I will have 3 demo sessions: the 2 applications, the documents defining the new application created during the assess part, the source code, both Web API and JavaScript. I will now show you the old and the new applications. This is our PB sample application. We have the sales order management, the employees management, the product analysis. Let's start by opening the sales order management. This is the famous query mode, as powerful and counterintuitive for users. It is used for inputting search criteria. In this moment, I'm not using any criteria, I'm just running the query to retrieve the list of sales orders. You can see at the bottom of the window the total that is calculated on the sales order selected. You can also notice that the user interface is not really consistent. That's because, like several Power Builder applications, this has been created over the years by different people. By selecting an item and pressing the OK button, we go to the sales order details. And I'm showing you around the window. So you can notice the double toolbar that is really outdated. You can see also that the UI style is not really consistent. Okay, you can see the sales order items also in the second part of the window, and there is no explicit button for adding a row or to delete a row. So we need to use the pop-up menu, right click, and this is again not very intuitive, but many of our applications are done in this way. You can see also the total for the order. You can also notice that there is no explicit save button. We need to use the toolbar item to save an order. Let's go now to the employees management. Again, the query mode, and this time we will use the status, the only status, to get only the employees that satisfy this criteria. So we select one employee and we go to the employees details. I'm showing you around the window. Okay, the personal and professional details are 2 different tab pages. Okay. Let's go to the product analysis, where we have the list of products on the left and the report and graph on the right. For each product, for the selected product, we see the graph updating and the report is updated as well. So you see, the Power Builder application is very powerful, but not very appealing. And this is the new application, a web responsive app created in React with Material UI toolkit. We have a menu on the left side of the screen that allows us to select the 3 functions that we have seen before: the sales order, employees, and product analysis. Let's start with sales orders. We have a search window criteria showing the number of orders, and this parameter inputting criteria is more intuitive than the query mode, because it allows you to specify for the fields the operator and the criteria. Okay, so this is the sales order result. We are showing 650 records that are satisfying the criteria. We have the total. We have this navigator control that allows us to display more records on the page and to navigate between them. And if we select to make records for the page, the page will scroll. We can also sort records by clicking on the header, and by highlighting a row and using the See Details button, we go to the details. I'm showing you around the screen. The user interface is much cleaner and intuitive than before. You can see that we have now the explicit button for adding and for removing a record, and we have a Save Change button that is sensitive to the status of the screen. So if I change something here, you will see that the Save Change is now enabled. But if I change back to the previous value, the Save Change becomes again disabled. I'm now adding a new record to show you how it works. So I'm selecting a date, and if I change the quantity, the amount and the order amount change immediately, or nothing extraordinary. But the Save Change button is now enabled. Okay, let's go back to the sales order results, and let's switch to the search employees. We have 76 employees. We will use the filters this time, and these are the employees that are only 5 records. Let's go to See Details. So I'm showing you around the window. It's similar to what we had in the Power Builder application according to the specifications. You see that Save Change button works in the same way, and the personal and professional data are now shown side by side. So what is the point? The UI is modern and clean, web responsive, multi-platform and cross-browser, but as fast as the PB application, and it contains no business logic. It is all packed into the web API. Okay, let's go now to the product analysis screen. Okay, we have the sorting as usual, and by clicking on a product and using the See Report button, we have a report that is updated. Okay, it's of course the modern style of visualizing graphs. Okay, I'm showing you now that the application is web responsive. So if I resize the window, you can see that the controls resize automatically. Let's see the method in more details. Assess phase. We define the scope, a tiny subset of the application that we want to migrate. We define the result, the programming language, the environment, web, mobile, desktop, platform. We define the UI in terms of functionality. Following the UI definition, we define the web API specification. The 2 documents will be shown in the second demonstration. Then we code the web API. Finally, we design the mockups for the new UI. By the end of the assess, we will have a running web API in your premises and a definition of the new UI. Evaluate phase. Based on the UI specifications and the web API, we will estimate the time and the cost for the new UI connected to your web API. Upon approval, we will build the new UI, always calling your web API that remains in your premises. By the end of the evaluate, you will have, with a minimal risk, a POC of the method and of the technology, both UI and web API with .NET DataStore. Migrate phase. Migrate repeats in a more efficient way what's seen before: UI specifications, Web API specifications, estimations, and in parallel, the UI implementation, usually by our team, and the Web API implementation, usually by your team. The first migrate cycle is usually focusing on converting the POC to a production-grade module, integrated with appropriate functions. The subsequent cycles that can run in parallel are focusing on different modules' targets. They can be based on specifications, that is, a fixed quote based on the contents, or on budget, with an agile approach, variable scope with fixed time and costs, and can be performed as a Scrum or a hybrid Scrum approach with internal-external teams. Let's see an example of the UI specifications and Web API specifications. These are templates defined for the specific case. This is the sample UI specification document. We write here the existing and the target architecture, as long as some project parameters, like the definition of done. We use the patterns components definition. This is like a business-like class hierarchy. In this project, we use the criteria list detail pattern that is used in the sales orders and in the employees. We describe the behavior of the pattern here. Here is the UI definition of the sales order search. We show the old window and the new mockup. Then we describe the features. The Web API functions are created as a draft in this phase and refined later on. And this is the UI definition of the sales orders detail. As before, we describe the features and the Web API calls. And this is the Web API specification document, very important. How we create it. After describing the UI and hypothesizing the Web API, we group all the functions, rename and refine them, and then update the UI specifications document accordingly. Then, the Web API is ready to be created. Notice here all the elements of the Web API methods. For example, verb, service, method, parameters, in and out, description, examples of use, and the main data window to be used by the method. That's very useful when creating the Web API. Let's now go to the source code, Web API and UI. In the Web API, we have three important elements: the controller, the model, and the service. There is much more, but let's focus on these three parts. This is the employee controller with two methods highlighted: list, that returns a list of employees with specified criteria, and update, that updates the employee from the supplied updated record. These methods work for any environment, not just for PB, and only transfer the needed info. It's very efficient. These are the two models obtained by converting the needed data windows automatically. The select attribute, the query, is hidden in the DW select attribute, and it contains the rules for building dynamically the select based on the columns present in the model. And this is the employee service, obtained by converting the PB code to C# with the PowerScript migrator. We have created some utility classes to address the typical PB to C# techniques, like retrieving a data window with criteria, updating a data window, retrieving the values of a drop-down list box, and so on. This is the React TypeScript code associated to employees and employee detail page. Scared? Don't. This is the UI code related to this application. It contains no business logic, only the UI logic contained in the specification document, nothing else, and the calls to the web API. It is true, it's not similar at all to Power Builder, but believe it or not, a short course on the UI language will teach you how to maintain this code if you don't want to access to the large number of available programmers knowing modern web-based programming. And with PBOpen, you can select any language for the front end. The method is about the migration from PB to C# and any front-end technology can be chosen as long as you can call the RESTful web API. Let's draw some conclusions. The .NET DataStore is the heart of this approach, the most effective way to migrate your Power Builder logic to C# because it retains the business logic and the developer's skills. The method used in PBOpen suggests a web API that is UI-oriented, but that will be subsequently shaped for non-UI usage, creating the base for unleashing your PB logic for any other application. The UI is effectively an empty box with just UI logic. No prior restructuring is necessary for this approach. The resulting business logic is pure C#, but it is based on PB logic and PB skills. It is really hard to imagine a more effective way to convert your code to C#. And final words for thanking you all for attending this presentation. Goodbye.